Hello and welcome everybody. My name is Tommy Gilmore with Noisy Bird Digital Marketing, and you're watching another episode of Wingin It. If this is your first time here, I sit down with a different business owner, and the goal is to help you feel like you're not just winging it in your business. I'm super excited. We're talking to Travis Larsen. Travis Larsen has been in the construction business since 2004. He's going to tell us some really awesome stories, talk to us about business ownership. So Travis, I'm excited to jump in. Thanks for being here.
Tommy, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
This is great. This is really good. I love it when the older I've gotten and the more I've done business, this is great that there's a lot of that. We've been doing quite a few of these as of late, and I love it because it's a great way to. We don't know everything. Mm-hmm. I'm still learning every day, but this is such a great way to give back to, some people that might be just starting or people that are in a rut or in a hard spot. And this is a great way to give back, and people should pour into this information and take use of the platform.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you sitting down with me.
You bet.
I know that you have like custom home, you have remodel, and then commercial.
Yeah.
And so I'd imagine one general contractor kind of oversees each of those, or is it just by project?
It's just by project. So like the way we run it, where I only help them when they ask and they ask, you know what I mean? And that's just part of our thing, right? So don't ever get overwhelmed. Mm-hmm. So when you're doing something and it's like, man, there needs to be two more of me. There are two more of you.
Yeah.
You just got to let us know. So like, we have our specific titles that we do inside the business, but we also are there to facilitate whatever help we can to the team, right? So our administrator is awesome. She keeps everything rocking and rolling, the books, billing, invoices. She combs through everything, makes sure we're not overpaying, makes sure everything's paid for. She clears all the SCRs through the state.
Okay.
So she's awesome.
That's probably the biggest pain is all the permitting and everything.
It's huge. Yeah, she does. She compiles the stuff for the permits as we're putting things together. She runs down stuff for us, tracks down all the paperwork and everything that we need, because we want to make sure that our guys are focused on their strong points, right?
Yeah.
So JD Sorensen, he's an estimator, PM, and he's been a contractor for 20-something years, and he's awesome. Mm-hmm. But that's his portion of it, right? So then when Caden needs help, JD can jump in and help him. I can jump in and help anybody. I mean, we can all help each other do whatever because we've all done it.
Yeah.
So it's very beneficial that way. But with those videos, Caden's, I've never been super comfortable sitting in front of a camera, right? Or talking to somebody like this where it's kind of like this staged thing.
Yeah.
And Caden's like, yeah, we got to do a bunch of these videos and you got to do this and, you got to do that. And I'm like, not really my thing, because I'm kind of old school.
Yeah.
But Caden's really pushing the digital. We got to be out there. We're missing out on clients that really are looking for us. They just don't know where to find us. So
yeah,
we're doing some of those things and trying to just grow it.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, that's the great thing, especially right now in Southern Utah with up until about 5 years ago, it was such a tight-knit community. I think you could get away with growing word of mouth like you've done.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't advertise for the first 15 years of my business.
Yeah.
Didn't need to.
Yeah, because you were probably so busy, you're like, if I advertised, I wouldn't know what to do with it.
Right, and to be honest, like, I just barely in the last 5 years figured out how to run a business. Well, still learning every day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I had no clue some of the stuff, you know what I mean? People started talking about different things and using these acronyms and different stuff. And I'm like, I don't even know what the hell that means. I've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
But I've just always been just me, and just work hard and do the right thing and the next job will be there, and so it's always done that. And then, like I said, Caden came in, he's younger, he's fresh and he's excited and wants to do all the things, so I lean on him a lot to, if this is what we need to be doing, then you're going to have to kind of help run that train because I don't know who to talk to. I don't even know what we need to do, you know what I mean, as far as having a digital footprint out there and that place in the market. I don't know how to do any of that stuff, so he's been really good to have for that.
Yeah, and I think that's what's cool about, like, as you grow your business, I mean, you've been doing this for 22 almost years. Mm-hmm. Your sign says established 2004.
Yeah.
And so you'd think 22 years in, hopefully I know most of the business, but in my experience, I've been doing this only 4. The further into business I get, the more I realize I have to actually learn.
Yeah, and continuing your education is a must if you're going to thrive in what you're doing, right? So, and evolving to the times, you know. I mean, I grew up in a house without a TV and a microwave.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And people are like, dude, you're not that old. And it's like, we didn't have one.
Yeah.
You know, if I remember that as a kid, that we didn't have one. You know what I mean? And so it's one of those things where I just work hard and do the right thing, and it'll always be there. I mean, that's changing. You know what I mean? There's Facebook now. There's all these things online, social medias and different things, and influences people's decisions on stuff and things like that. You know, and so if you're not out there, it doesn't matter how great you are and and what you're doing. But if people don't know you or know where to find you, you're missing out on a lot of really potential relationships that can be just more than business. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I'm learning a lot about that. I'm not even a big computer guy. I couldn't stand computers. 5 years ago it was a chicken peck on the keyboard and see where we're going to end up with that. And now it's really forced me to learn how to run a computer and learn how to run all the softwares that we run. My son and the rest of our team, really, we've been through a couple different platforms for CRMs and different things like that, and it's really forced me to learn how to run a computer.
Yeah.
And it's super beneficial. It is. It's just I was the can't teach an old dog new tricks thing. So I mean that was kind of not a good thing for a while, but I'm getting way more fluent with it and way more comfortable in that space, and now it's great.
Yeah.
So.
And as you guys are implementing, this tech stack, and you're learning, like it sounds like by force initially, but as you're kind of being dragged through this process of implementing technology in your business, what's that been doing for you guys? How is that benefiting you?
So it's crazy huge, the benefits there. So we use the JobTread platform now, and it houses everything, houses all the information, right? So one of the things that after years of doing this for so long by myself that I come to is you don't get a lot of time, and then trying to, raise a young family and do all these things, you're passionate about it, but then you're missing out at home, and you can't quite do these things because, the business just consumes you and it takes over. And it's like, this has to be done, right? So
I joke with my wife that I have to go handle my mistress for a little bit. Like I have to go get some work done.
Yeah, and you do, and it's one of those things. If you're going to be successful at it, you just got to be relentless with the consistency that it takes to get there, right? So family time suffers and different things suffer like that. So as my son came up in it and he started being more and more and more a part of the company, I was like, okay, well, I can benefit him in a way that, we're established. He doesn't have to go out and grind and do this all over by himself, and he doesn't have to miss out on as much family time and do those things. And so as we built that, it just worked out so well that I was like, well, why don't we find some other A players, right? That some awesome people that will fill their spot, and they don't have to miss out on their family time either, and so that's how we got Pam and JD in our office. It was like, well, you just got to handle this part of it. You don't have to wear 5 or 6 hats and do it all. You know what I mean? For 15 years, I was the CEO and the janitor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it never ended. And now the platforms and the systems that we use that houses all that information, that technology, you can do that without technology, right? So it allows for if JD wants to take off for 2 weeks. Yeah, man, go ahead.
Yeah.
We know how to get to all the information. We know how to find everything. Everybody is very proficient in the platform and getting better and better every day. And the more you pour into that platform, the easier it makes not only your work life, but your personal life.
Yeah.
Because we can at any time. And, I hunt and fish a lot, and I disappear for weeks at a time to go hunting and do all these things. And I don't come back to this, fire that, oh boy, what do I do now? You know? And it's because of the systems and processes that we put in place to handle that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody's sick or whatever, if it lives in one place instead of on a sticky note, that who knows where that sticky note ended up, you know, you can go into the system and you can say, okay, he's going to be gone for a week. This is this project he's working on, or these 2 or 3 that he's overseeing. Here's exactly what's going to be missing, and so here's where I can step in and help my PM or my subs or do whatever. Like all of that can be organized, and it really it removes a person from the bottleneck a lot of times.
It does, and the accountability aspect of it's great, right? Because you have to make sure that you do that through the platform.
Yep.
So you have to be accountable for all the information that you're taking in makes it to the platform, because that's how everything streamlines and runs.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes right down to our subs. You know what I mean? We can take a task on there and email it right directly to the sub.
Yeah.
It has all the information they need. It has everything they need. Nothing gets lost in translation because it's all housed in the same spot, and nobody can say, oh man, I didn't get that. Yeah, you did. You got it on this day at this time, and here's the email.
And you got a text and an email as a result.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, construction's hard, man. It is. It's super hard, and some of the challenges that we do face are the things where bidding practices. Everybody has a lot of different bidding practices. I want you to know what everything's going to cost you in the end.
Yeah.
I don't want to give you that price that you love in the beginning. You know, so when I get some stuff that says, hey man, I'm looking for a general contractor, and I send it out to like 6 other contractors, I'm like, right on, man. Sounds like you got it covered. Yeah. Because there's no way I'm going to be, if they're doing that, they're looking for a price. They're not looking for quality. Yeah. And we thrive on quality. So
talk about that a little bit. I mean, I think there's been a shift, I think, in mindset the last maybe 10, 15 years with that specifically. I think a lot of times people have been just very price conscious, but when you're looking at building a home or renovating a home, building a commercial space, you don't want it to fall apart. You don't want the cheapest thing. You want that quality. And so for you, how do you set yourself apart with your branding or your messaging, or how you talk with your clients, things like that? How do you set yourself apart and really build that value so that you do stay competitive if people come to you and they're looking for a certain price, or if they're wanting that specific thing? Right.
So providing value is simple to me, right? I'm very transparent. We have all the information from the people. We let them know that, you know, if they ever have an issue, they can talk about it. The biggest thing that sets the tone for that is up front in the very initial meeting, right? So when a client comes in and sits down and they're a new client, we're onboarding, we tell them exactly how it operates up front. Yeah. There's no hidden anything. I tell them, if somebody else is bidding this house, I'm not beating them. Yeah. You know what I mean? So if you're looking for a price, I'm not the guy. I'm quality, and I'm after what you want to put in your house, right? And so then you do have to spend time with those people. You do have to run through everything and make sure that you can work together on that. And then they also have to trust the fact that, yeah, man, this guy's he's done it a long time and he knows what he's doing. So the cost is the cost, right? Yeah. But I always tell people in construction, there's 3 things. There's budget, time, and quality. You can only pick 2 of those things. Yep. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's how it boils down. You know what I mean? So if you want it fast and you want quality, there is no budget. You're paying whatever that takes to make that happen. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so it's that you have those 3 things, but you only get to pick 2. And we run with that, you know what I mean? And we source a lot of stuff beforehand, so our pricing is extremely accurate. Yeah. We don't just give you a budget number for builder grade stuff and then extra and change order you in the back end to get to where the price should have been. Yeah. When you're dealing with financial institutions, we deal with a lot of those guys, and they're great. You know, I mean, we have a lot of those guys that send us work because they know on the backside of their job, Trav's going to tell them what it is, and they can either afford it or they can't. So when it comes time to close out the loans and finish everything up, there's no, hey, where do I find another $200,000 because I went over on everything? Yeah. From the initial price, you know what I mean? So it can really have some consequences in the back end if we get done building somebody's house, and it's like we just give them the builder budget, and then in the end it's 250 grand, and they go back to the lender, and the lender's like, you don't qualify for that.
Yeah.
Now they have a house they can't buy, and I have a house that maybe I can't sell because of some of the selections that they made.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it puts both of us in not a good spot. So easy, avoid that spot.
Yep.
If this is what you want, this is what that costs.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that transparent pricing, and then also just like in your case, I don't know if you do this and maybe you do, but emphasizing the cost of a bad experience like you just did, and saying, hey, if you want to be in the next 6 months or whatever your timeline is, like, we'll do what we can to get you there. We have the systems that'll take you there, but you have to pay extra because we have those systems in place, and those systems cost money and expertise and everything.
Right. So then it also comes down to an overhead thing, right?
Yeah.
So your overhead it reflects, the quality and the type of product that you're putting out there. In a lot of ways, we have our own office. We actually own our own office place.
Yeah. And it's being renovated right now.
That's
why we're shooting in your home.
So yeah, that's why we're here in the kitchen shooting the video in the kitchen, because my office is being renovated right now. But we have an office, we have a business, we have an address. You can walk in there at any time during business hours and somebody is there.
Yeah.
Where 95% of contractors don't have anything like that. You know what I mean? They operate out of their home, or they operate out of maybe a little lease space somewhere in an office. We actually have our own stuff. We have our own things, overhead. I have extreme professionals in every facet, and that costs money.
You pay them like they're a professional.
They are a professional, you know what I mean? And so, we have to stay competitive in the markets, but the flip side of that too is there's a market for everything, right?
Yeah.
There's people that drive a Bugatti, and there's also people that drive a Volkswagen. No offense to anybody who drives a Volkswagen. My daughter drives one.
Yeah.
But there's a market for everything. You know what I mean? And so we're typically on the higher side of that market because of what we offer.
Yeah.
We offer incredible service and top-notch quality, and when that happens, we make money doing it.
Yeah.
So.
That's awesome. So, in the last 22 years almost in business that you've had, there's kind of the price of experience, right? There's those challenges that pop up, those difficulties that you have to face. And sometimes I call it a stupid tax. Like, I should have seen this coming and I didn't. Now I have to pay the stupid tax. Yeah. For you, what jumps to mind is like the biggest challenge that you guys have had to overcome, and what did you learn in going through that? So
yeah, I've paid for several college degrees. They're gonna happen. You want to try to minimize all those that you can, for sure. Slow, steady growth is what we've found to mitigate the higher side of that. Making sure that we know what we're doing, making sure that we're not taking on too many projects that are going to put us in, lost in translation moments where we're paying for people's stuff because we didn't bid it, or we didn't bid it correctly, or we didn't follow through with communications, or whatever that happens, right? So the slow, steady growth has been huge to do that. And now we're, after 22 years of chipping away at this thing and putting all the teammates and team members in the right place, now we're ready to take on some very large stuff and thrive in that market. The other thing to that is just pay attention to your numbers. The numbers don't lie. Get real comfortable with a P&L and a balance sheet, and know and understand those, because that tells you where your business is at. Yeah. So.
Yeah, no, the numbers are huge. At least in my experience, we're very different industries. Your industry, your profit margins are a lot slimmer than mine. But for me, that's the number I have to look at the most, is what is my profit margin?
Right.
Because I'm in the same boat as you. Like, for good digital marketing, you should be paying decent money for it.
Absolutely.
Because what that means is that person hopefully knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
And so, we've hired people on our team. In order for me to pay them, I have to charge my clients a certain amount. And so I have to know what that number is. Otherwise, I get to the end of the month, I'm like, man, I brought in all this money, but it all went to paying people and software and the things that we need to accomplish the job, instead of being able to reinvest it into my business, or, you know, do those things that actually help grow in the long term.
Right. So that's where the knowledge and experience comes in handy, right? So for us, we see it all the time. We get people calling us all the time, subcontractors, vendors. Hey man, we want on your bid list. We would love to work with you. We want to do these things. And sure, man, here's how you get on our bid list. Send us this information. We'll get you on the bid list, and you can send us in some stuff, right? So when our plans go out, we get them, and we send it out to our bid list. We start receiving numbers back, and we start compiling those numbers into our platform. And there's a lot of times these young guys coming in that it's like, yeah, that's way too low.
Yeah.
Like, you cannot do the job that we expect to happen for that price.
Yeah.
It can't be done. And the reason that we know that is because out of all of us in our office, we also wore tool bags and built houses for 15, 20 years before we got to this point.
Yeah.
So we know what it takes. We know the quality that we're after. We know what that looks like, right? And so, yeah, we see it on our side too, right? Like, yeah, he cannot provide the value and the quality that we need at that price.
Yep.
And so that just gets tossed out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, man, that's not the work we do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And a lot of these other guys, they'll snatch it up because they can make an extra buck off of that guy and deal with the consequences in the end.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we look at everything as, if you're building a large custom, you're building anything, custom home, commercial, remodeling your space or whatever, there's money and value associated with that, right? But people look at the money and value right now instead of, oh, when I'm done with that, I have to maintain that for the next 30, 40, 50 years some of these businesses are in. Well, if you have to maintain a subpar project for that long, you're going to pay somewhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Let's put the quality and pay up front so you know what you're looking at.
Yeah. And I mean, the biggest thing that's jumping out to me is just like that experience to know that. You know, I think a lot of times, unfortunately, general contracting, marketing, people work with these smaller operations, these kind of fly by night, they get burned, and then they associate the whole profession with it, right? Because
that's a huge, it puts a black eye on the industry, right?
Yeah.
Because like all these guys they're making millions and they're doing this and they're doing that, and it's like we're definitely not making millions. I mean, over the life of the company, sure, yeah, we've made several $1 million, but it's not off of every project.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We run the margins we have to run to operate and take care of our people. And we know where those are at because we know how to read the P&Ls. We know how to read the balance sheets. We don't spend money where we shouldn't be spending money. You know what I mean? We need to be very responsible with how we run and operate our company. So when and if there are those warranty items, sure, take care of it.
yeah.
If you're using somebody that gave you a price that was way too low to do the job, there is no warranty behind that.
Yep.
And those people might not be in business in 5 years.
And they're probably cutting corners to be able to hit that margin too.
Right. Well, that's the only way they can, you know what I mean? And most of them aren't even making money. They're running off of a high cash flow because they do have a lot of work.
Yeah.
So if they actually were to sit down, read through their P&L and their balance sheet, they would realize that we're not making a dime. We're paying for the last job with the next job.
Yeah.
That ends up really bad on the last guy, you know?
Yeah.
So, and we've seen those booms and busts in business that happens, you know, the cycles. Everything has a cycle in business. I do consider us a full cycle business, and a full cycle business is we've seen a lot of different markets. You know, every time it's happened, I've seen this happen in 2003 and 4 and 5. I started in 2004. It was easy to get going, right? You whatever number you threw out there, it was so busy that people were just trying to find people to do it, you know what I mean? So it was super easy to make it, right?
Yeah.
Well, then 2009 hits and the water fountain shuts off and it's like, oh boy. And a lot of people disappear. And I did whatever I had to do to make it at that point. I had a young family and that kind of stuff. So I actually went to work in Nevada at a large mine out there and I worked 14 days a month there and come back here and ran my business 14 days a month here.
Wow.
So I did whatever it took to supplement my income, not buy the jobs and lose the jobs, and then I did a lot of work by myself for 3 or 4 years there. 3 or 4 years going through that, I did a lot of that work myself just to stay relevant, stay pertinent, keep my name in the community and do those things. And then in 2014 it broke loose again, and we were right back at it, because we had an established name that made it through it. We weren't filing bankruptcy on people and walking away from bad debts, and we didn't have bad debts. State Bank was huge in helping us through that, and getting us through that. So we're very, very thankful to them. We use them all the time for construction lending and different things. But so those relationships that you create in the good times, you need those relationships in the bad times as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that doesn't come by taking advantage of people. So every relationship that we have counts. Mm-hmm. We've done multiple repeat projects for multiple customers, and it's because of that relationship that we nurtured for a long time, And we spend money on masterminds. We spend money getting coaching. We spend money in the professional space to try to make sure that we're bettering ourselves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So the RBO is huge for us.
That's the real business owners.
Real business owners, yep. Trevor Cowley down in St. George. My son introduced me to him, 5 or 6 years ago. And that relationship has just really taken off. And I've not only met Trevor, but I've met a lot of great people through that platform. Brent Knott, he's an awesome guy, very helpful, very useful information from that guy. But the relationship just starts out as like you and I right now. Yeah. We're just having a conversation, but you nurture those relationships, and then when somebody needs you and somebody, reaches out and says, hey man, I kind of going through this, what do I do here or whatever, you can pour into them with what you have and what you know what I mean, to try to help them then level up. So we love spending time in those spaces. I'm also with Marty Amos, the professional builder. We pay for coaching there. Okay. It helps us with lots of different facets specifically for the building community. That's a great platform as well. And my son's in all these with me. The operator standard. I don't know if that's pretty new. The operator standard is a Andy Frisella platform, and it's awesome. And it's mostly just accountability, right? So the more we pour into ourselves to get better just for us and our family, that reflects in business, right? So there's a standard that we have to uphold everywhere that we go. Mm-hmm. And everything in every facet of life, and so the personal development space is huge in business, and so it's pour into yourself, because then it really, really shines in your business. Yeah,
I've definitely found that those times where I'm, I guess, making an investment in myself in some way, like this year for me, it was my physical health. Yeah. For the last 4 years, it's been a lot of not sleeping, not eating well. Right. Those things that happen when you're working sometimes 12, 14-hour days. Right. And I'm like, I've got a gym membership. I'm paying money for it. I'm going to actually use it every day. So 5 days a week, that's my goal. I'm getting up, I'm going to the gym, and I'm working on eating better as well, drinking water more, but just whatever that looks like for that season, whatever that takes you to that next level, I've definitely found when I'm pushing those things in my business are flowing more naturally, for sure.
Absolutely. You have to pour into yourself. Yeah. If you don't pour into yourself, then you have nothing that you can give. For sure. Do you know what I mean? So you can't, I don't remember who said it, but your cup, you can't pour into somebody else's cup unless your cup's overflowing. Yeah. So get to overflowing your cup as soon as you can, so you can pour into other people. Definitely. So something that I'm taking from our conversation that we've been having is just the importance of patience. Like, you talked about you want to grow sustainably, right? Right. Like, and then there's also times in your business that you're like, I'm hungry, I want to grow. Like you're talking about this year, you're really ready to level up the business, kind of pour into it a little bit, take some steps. Absolutely. So for you, like,
where does that balance strike? How do you grow sustainably, but also, I guess, maybe aggressively at the same time? Does that question make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. So planning is huge. You got to have a plan. You got to have goals, right? So forever, I just went through the motions of business, right? You wake up, you go do the thing, you work until the work's done, and sometimes you get to have dinner and sometimes you don't, right? So I did that for years, you know, just kind of running aimlessly through the night, you know. I mean, I was great at what I did. I loved doing it, and I had a lot of phenomenal customers, but I never really, I mean, I did that for almost 15 years, right? Where not much structure. You're just, I'm working hard, so it's got to be working, right? It wasn't until about 5 years ago, my oldest son, Caden, he's 27 now. It wasn't until about 5 years ago, he was like, I think there's a different way.
Yeah.
You know, and he started really heavy into the personal space and the personal development and reading books and doing these things, you know. And so I'm looking at him and I'm going, yeah, what do you mean? You know, what do you mean there's a different way? And so then I really started to, you know, I had some humility and some humbleness, and I took some advice from my son, and I was like, you know what, this is a cool thing. You know, I've always gone to the gym. I've always kept in good shape. That was never an issue. And then working your butt off, you didn't have a problem with the weight thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But as soon as he kind of said those things and we talked, and then we started having these deeper conversations, and it's like, yeah, maybe we should try running a business.
Yeah.
You know, instead of working in a business.
Instead of being self-employed.
Yeah, so we were self-employed. So basically we just made a really good paycheck. That was all. Yeah. And then it wasn't until about 5 years ago when we really sat down, we had these deeper conversations with, hey, there's a strategy to this. There's a, you know, if you read this book says to do, you know, you got to look at doing this, or you got to look at doing that. And it's like, man, we need to read more books. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's just how it is. You know, most business owners start for the passion of what they're doing. You know, they love doing what they're doing, or they enjoy it enough anyways to really pursue it and try to make a career out of it. And that's pretty much what I did. And it wasn't until 15 years into the journey that it was like, okay, well, business is really good. The relationships are there now, and I'm getting to a point where I need to grow. Yeah. And when that point happened, I was like, I don't even know how to grow. Yeah. You know, so that's when Caden kind of was like, hey man, have you thought of this? And have you thought of that? And I'm like, well, yeah, but I just don't know. And it's like, read books. And then the podcasting became a huge thing for us, right? Yeah. So we started pouring into a lot of podcasts and different things like that and getting a lot of information. There's podcasts out there for everything. Oh yeah, it's crazy. I mean, drives my wife nuts. We'll be driving to Salt Lake or something, and we'll get in the truck and take off, and she's like, "Why are these guys talking about taxes?" Like, I'm listening to a tax podcast. Yeah. Like, I have some information I'm trying to figure out here. You know, so I mean, there's literally a podcast on everything, right? It's great. I tell my younger kids all the time, and they call me up and they ask me how to do something. I'm like, you guys have no idea how good you have it. Yeah. You have this little thing called YouTube. When I was growing up and coming up in the game, I didn't even have a cell phone until I was like 22 or 23 years old. Yeah. And it wasn't a smartphone like we have now. It was the flip open and you can dial. Push a number. Yeah, you could dial, and if you were really fancy, you could figure out how to text with the things. But you know what I mean? So I didn't have anything like that. Yeah. You know, and so I'm like, dude, we had to actually figure it out, and then we had to break it several times and then redo it several times and do that. You guys have YouTube at your hands. You know what I mean? It's a different world. It's a different time, you know? And so my son has been dragging me through this technology whirlwind for the last 5 years of like, you know, hey, you can do this, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, really? That's cool. You know, so that's when I was like, okay, well, he is my son, but he's a smart kid and he knows his stuff. And maybe I should listen a little bit, you know what I mean? And so, and then once we opened up that line of communication between the two of us and more so became equals, instead of I'm the father, you're the son, you listen to me and da-da-da-da-da. Yeah. I accepted him as an equal very early on because I was like, okay, yeah, the kid's smart and he's got a lot of great ideas and this stuff is super important, you know? Yeah. So the personal development space is huge and get into that and stay into that for sure. Yeah. But yeah, just the technology and all the stuff that comes along with it, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. For what looking back at that 5 years ago when your son's like, hey, let's actually build a business. Let's not just go job to job and let's make this a business.
Right.
What did you have to start to do? Like what did you learn through that process? What did you have to start to do to remove yourself as the bottleneck, really? Because that's what you were having to do.
Absolutely. I was the biggest bottleneck in the company, right? And I was for years. You know what I mean? And so and the reason that it took years is because I had to get a whole bunch of education done in that time, right? Mm-hmm. So the biggest thing to get us out of it was getting with people that know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's when we really started pouring into the personal space. That's when we got with Trevor at RBO. There's people out there that have done everything you're doing. You don't need to recreate the wheel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can lean on those people. There's a proximity to people, that kind of stuff. And at first I was like, I don't know if I need to pay for that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then the further down the road, there's still the bottleneck, right? And it's like, you know what? I'm just gonna put my toe in this over here. You know, so you throw a little bit of money at that, and it's like, okay, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And it's like, but if I got that for that price, what do I get for this price? And so then the prices just kept going up, right? And it's no different than anything we do in the industry, right?
Yeah.
If your price is here, there's a value associated with that price that says that, you know, that's probably worth it.
Yeah.
And so we started pouring into that personal space, and we've spent a lot of money. We spent a lot of money into that personal space, but it's also given us the ability to grow a company that is financially very strong.
Yeah.
And is growing how we want it to grow. Mm-hmm. We've removed a lot of bottlenecks. There's still bottlenecks. There's still challenges. There's challenges every day, right? You just got to get up every day and decide that you're going to win that day.
Yep.
And when you start winning the days compile into weeks, the weeks compile into years, and before you know it, you're like, well, I don't know what I did anything different, because it doesn't feel like you did anything crazy different. But then you look at where you're at, and 2 years later, look at where you're at, and you realize that doing all the small things is really what put me over here.
Yeah, for sure.
So do the small things.
Yeah, small things. I like it. As you've gone through, I mean, you've consumed a lot of personal development things, a lot of business things, a lot of tax things, it sounds like.
Yeah.
For you, what's been the best piece of business advice that you've gotten, either from the books, the podcasts, or even another mentor that kind of helped you take things to the next level?
So one of the bigger things too is I just didn't understand how a lot of stuff works, right? So I have one company, and I'm going through it, and I have the same accountant for years and years and years and years, right? And then one day he comes into my office and he's like, hey, Trav, you know, you probably should do something different here to protect what you're doing.
Yeah.
And it's like, what do you mean? I'm just building houses and I'm doing awesome, and you know what I mean? But that's just that head down grind every day, and then you never really pull your head up out of business to take a look around and realize that you're missing out on a lot of opportunities. So one of the biggest things that was for me was once I realized that I could find an A player and plug them into this spot over here, and another player, an A player, and plug them into this spot over here, then I could actually be present in a lot more things.
Yeah.
And once I was present in a lot more things, I realized that by head down working and grinding, I was missing a ton of opportunities. Mm-hmm. And so it took a long time to grow to that. But then once I was at a place where it's like, you know what, I need to do this.
Yeah.
And once I realized that, hey, even if I couldn't really figure out how I was going to afford to do it, I still needed to do it. And so once I did that, then it was head up, and you're realizing that there's a lot more opportunities out there than what's coming to you when you're just buried in the business.
Yeah.
And so that was huge for me. Removing myself from a lot of the day-to-day operations made it possible for me to pursue some really good things.
Yeah.
And so that was huge. That takes time. You got to make sure that you're handing that off to the right person.
Yeah.
I haven't had any myself, but I've heard some horror stories of, you know, people hiring the wrong people for very high up positions, and it doesn't end up well.
Yeah.
So luckily I haven't had much of that go on.
Yeah, but I mean, it definitely does happen.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. But like one of the biggest things for me is, like I said, the biggest game changer was when I could get my head out of my business and pour into other things and be involved in other things, and we give back to the community a lot, and that's really been, I'm not going to say beneficial business wise. I mean, I'm sure there's probably some matrix there that we don't measure because we don't care, but pouring back into the community just really makes, we're so blessed to be where we're at.
Yeah.
And to be able to do that without an agenda is just something that there's no better feeling. For
sure. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so you chase that feeling around, and it's pretty cool. It's pretty neat.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious what it looks like in your business. I got similar advice last year. And last year we really focused on growth. We went from 3 employees to start the year to 6 to end the year. And so that was a big growth year for us last year, bringing on new people, bringing on talent, hiring, training, all that stuff. So for me, I've had to start, my Mondays, I call them my CEO day. I'm blocked out. I don't take client calls. As little as I can, I'm focused not in the business, but on the business.
Right.
I'm 30,000 feet up, working on our website or working on a funnel for for what our business could look like in the future. I'm looking like all of that stuff that when you're working on somebody else's stuff, like for us, I'm literally working on somebody else's business for them. If you're looking at somebody's house, like you're not looking at your own business. So for you, what does that look like in implementing and like getting out of in the business into on the business?
So yeah, head down in the business. The biggest thing for that was systems and processes. Bringing on the platform that we use to house that information and do those things, right? It streamlines it.
Yeah.
It makes everything super streamlined. And when you're streamlining things, now you don't have to sit in front of a computer for 4 hours a day. It might be 1 hour.
Yep.
That allows you 3 hours to then look around, right? So in my role in the business is I'm 4 to 6 months ahead of where we're at.
Yeah. So
I can see the potential slowdowns. I can see the potential, crap, we need a job to fill in here because we got a break between this job and this job. We need something to fill into there, right? So we're able to pivot and do a lot of different kind of jobs. We do have a small in-house crew that allows us to pivot and be able to do that. So we can go pick up a little remodel that we normally wouldn't do.
Yeah.
Because I can plan that out through what I see coming up in our future. Now, if I'm working day to day in that business, I don't know what the future looks like. And now that
you don't know what 4 minutes ahead looks like, much less 4 months.
Right. So that 2 month gap there can be detrimental.
Yep.
You know, 2 months, we operate, I mean, we're $30,000+ a month in overhead.
Yeah.
2 months is expensive.
Yeah.
Without an income. So me being able to have my head out of the business and up, looking out the window, I can see those and we can make a pivot. We can pick up a job like, you know, hey, we normally wouldn't go do this job, but we got to at least keep bankrolling and keep a cash flow going just for here, because then this really big job will start.
Yeah.
We don't want to go take a huge job because then when those jobs overlap, now we're not set up to that point yet, right?
Yeah.
So we strategically, we want to make sure that we don't bury ourselves, but we have to maintain the cash flow in the business. So by not being buried in the business, I can see that coming.
Yeah.
Right? And so then it's easy for me to go, I need a job for 2 months. Who's called me? Who's reached out? Who's got a 2 month job?
Yep.
And then we can look at, hey man, they want so-and-so wants an addition or a remodel or something like that. We can fit it into this time frame here. I bring it to the team. The team, I'm not the ultimate say this is what's going to happen, right? When you finally get a team that operates at a very high level, we bring things to the team. We actually have our A players set up and we call it the boardroom. And so when we call a board meeting, that's when we bring everything. Everybody brings a challenge or something, and we talk about how we're going to execute on that challenge, right? So I would then take that project to the boardroom and say, "Hey guys, you know, in April and May, we got a little bit of a scheduling gap from when this job's going to start, but this is the job that will fill that spot.
Yeah.
How do you guys feel about that?" Because they also have challenges in their specific roles too, right?
Yeah.
So logistically, is that job going to be super, super hard, and it's not going to take 2 months. It's going to take 3, which is really going to hammer us on, starting a 30,000 square foot commercial build. Then we don't want to mess with that.
Yeah.
Right. So I bring it to everybody, and then everybody has their things when we do our board meeting, and the board meetings end up being extremely beneficial because everybody brings something, and they bring something to the table, a challenge, and then they bring their most foreseeable path through it.
Yeah.
And then we all talk about it.
Yeah. They bring the vision of the business that they have their eye on.
Yes.
And they bring that to you.
Yeah, and the vision of the business is not a secret because I pour everything into my team.
Yeah.
Because if they don't understand the goals and the vision for what you're trying to do as a business, it'll never get there.
Yeah.
So they have to know every bit as much as you do. That's why it's so important to do those meetings. On Tuesdays, we run down through, we have another meeting every Tuesday morning. We don't do it on Mondays because Mondays are hectic. Monday we get piled up with subcontractors, suppliers. These guys, it's like they forget what they were doing on Friday, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, so we realized that Monday was a terrible day to try to do our weekly meeting. So we do our weekly meeting on Tuesday.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So you just pivot a little bit, and we realize that let the Monday hectic go on, and then Tuesday we get a plan.
Tackle what you need to.
Tackle what we need to tackle, you know what I mean? So we have an hour meeting every Tuesday morning. Everybody, the whole team's involved in that, and it just gets everybody on the right page. It sets the tone, and we fill out our to-dos on that, and everybody knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
And what they need to be working on and the information that they need to be gathering. Whatever their job looks like, it's very well laid out in that meeting.
That's awesome. Well, Travis, I really appreciate your time. I want to be conscientious. I know you're heading out of town.
Yeah.
You got some stuff to do, but I appreciate your time. This definitely felt like a masterclass. I hope that if you're watching, you guys gained something from this because this was an awesome conversation.
Well, Tommy, I appreciate it. And if you ever want to hash it up again, I'd love to.
Yeah, we'd love to have you back. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Check him out. It's TravisLarsenConstruction.com, right?
Yep.
So
TravisLarsenConstruction.com.
Check out some of the work that they're doing. They're doing some really great stuff. This has been another episode of Wingin' It. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you again on the next one.